In this video, we are going to talk about Toshi, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Toshi to go in the next few days and weeks. So we'll start by looking at the weekly chart, and what we can see here are these areas of support and resistance that we have talked about in previous videos. We have this crucial support area that we are just barely above right now from this low from back in June of this year, and we have the resistance area that is this trend line that has acted as support many times, but then in the last couple of months we have broken down below it, and now what was once support will likely turn into resistance in the future. But focusing on where the price of Toshi is right now, we have seen Toshi stop its dump at this support area that we have talked about, and we've seen it consolidate in the last month or so. So the fact that Toshi stopped its dump, Toshi has been dumping very aggressively since it lost this trend line, so the fact that Toshi stopped its dump is a pretty good sign. But still, despite Bitcoin actually getting a relief rally in the last couple of weeks, with it going from about 80k to over 90k right now, Toshi still barely moved, basically didn't move at all in the last month, and it didn't really get its relief rally. So despite the momentum to the downside with Toshi slowly disappearing, Toshi's price action is still relatively weak, and it has been underperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum in the last few weeks. But generally, as long as Toshi continues holding the support area, which it is, I think that the possibility of Toshi getting a rally all the way up to the trend line is still certainly there, and especially if Bitcoin continues its relief rally and heads above 100k again, which I think will most likely happen sometime in the next few months. I think that the most likely outcome for Bitcoin, regardless of if we are in a bear market or not, is that it gets a significant relief rally and heads back above 100k again. Whether it creates a lower macro high or it creates a new all-time high is still completely uncertain, but regardless, I think that Bitcoin will head at least a little bit above 100k sometime relatively soon. And if Toshi continues holding this support area for the next few months and then Bitcoin gets its relief rally, then Toshi will likely follow it at least to some extent. And if we get Ethereum following it, getting back to its all-time high, and we get a bit of an alt season, then Toshi has a very good chance of actually getting a rally all the way up to the trend line. This would be a rally of about 2x, so that would certainly be very nice for Toshi holders. But right now, on the shorter time frame, if I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, as you can see, I have drawn these trend lines in the last video, and Toshi has created sort of a wedge right here in the last few weeks, and with wedges, eventually the price has to break out of the wedge, either up or down. And in the last few days, it was looking like Toshi may be breaking up. As you can see, the price of Toshi has been just slightly above this trend line in the last few days, but since then it got rejected back down pretty aggressively with this large red candle, and Toshi is now back to the range. But Toshi is now very close to the end of this wedge. As you can see, since this wedge is closing in, a breakout either up or down is inevitable sometime, I would say, in the next week. Even if Toshi stays at the exact same price and basically doesn't move, it will have to break out just because this wedge is closing in, with the lows getting higher and the highs getting lower. So whether it breaks up or down from this wedge is completely uncertain, but it is something very important to track in the next few days if you are interested in Toshi. I think that it is probably slightly more likely that it will break out of the wedge to the upside, because I am expecting Bitcoin to probably continue its relief rally, and also because Toshi is at this very crucial support area on the weekly chart, as I showed you before. And actually this wedge, despite it being on a shorter time frame, it is actually very important for the longer time frame as well, because we are at such a crucial decision point on the weekly chart as well, because we are at this support area. If Toshi breaks to the upside from this wedge, then this combined with the crucial support area on the weekly chart will likely lead to a very aggressive rally. But on the other hand, if Toshi breaks from this wedge to the downside, that will mean that it will likely also break below the crucial support area on the weekly chart as well, and that would lead to Toshi getting significant dumps in the longer term as well. So despite this being a very short-term structure, it is actually very significant on the weekly chart as well, and it is actually one of the most crucial decision points for the price of Toshi that we've seen in the last couple of months. I would say the last time we've had something similar was back when Toshi broke down below the trend line on the weekly chart, as I showed you before. So yeah, these are some very important times for Toshi. Of course, none of what I said in this video is financial advice, and remember that Toshi is still an incredibly low market cap meme coin, and its volatility is insane and it is very risky. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about Toshi as well as other meme coins and altcoins and the entire crypto market in general, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.